Welcome back to part 2 of DLS's instructor training module on teaching grammar in a communicative way. In this portion of the module, we are going to talk about how to apply a communicative approach in the classroom, including creating communicative grammar lessons. Let's look at an example from English. Let's imagine we are going to teach an English grammar lesson about reported speech. In English, where do you see a lot of examples of reported speech? You probably guessed, in the news. Now, before we jump into the example, let's take a look at an example of a typical language training lesson plan that is taught in a communicative way. In almost any teaching environment, it is best to start with a warm-up. This prepares students to think about the topic before any input or activity. It's kind of like a brain massage for the student. This also helps teachers see what the student already knows or doesn't know. Then there is the reading or listening passage, which should include the grammar structure that is being taught. When students read or listen, it is essential that they have a comprehension activity or task to perform either while they are reading or listening or immediately after. Next, the grammar point can be introduced. This is done by using language from the passage. After introducing the grammar, students will do some productive activities using the grammar in context. This should include speaking whenever possible, since writing can be done for homework. Finally, the lesson should include more open-ended speaking activities. These activities should be related to the topic and set up so the student produces the language organically. Now, let's walk through the example on reported speech. The first step is to locate an authentic passage or audio. In this case, we selected a video news report from Voice of America about the negotiation with Iran on its nuclear program. Next, create a warm-up or schema building activity. In our example, we've provided screenshots from the video. The student will talk about the pictures to warm up before watching the video. Next, we move on to the second step. Students should have a specific task in mind when viewing, listening, or reading. Here, in our example, the student will focus on a matching comprehension activity while watching the video for the first time. By focusing on specific information, such as the names of people and their titles, students will avoid being overwhelmed by the information that they do not understand. As the video plays, try to complete the matching activity.
EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton says Iran and the six world powers have identified the issues that need to be dealt with in talks on a final settlement on Iran's nuclear dispute.
We've had 3 very productive days, during which we've identified all of the issues we need to address in reaching a comprehensive and final agreement. There is a lot to do. It won't be easy, but we've made a good start.
The talks were a little more positive than expected, said Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif, but he added Iran would not allow foreign negotiators to impose a solution on Iran.
We do not accept anybody imposing a solution on us. We do not accept anybody prescribing anything for us.
Iran has long maintained that its nuclear program is peaceful. It is hoping that talks with the United States, Britain, China, France, Russia, and Germany will result in relief from crippling economic sanctions. The six world powers are seeking assurances that Tehran will not develop nuclear weapons. In an interview with VOA's Persian service, U.S. Political Affairs Undersecretary Wendy Sherman said the two sides still have differences that need to be resolved, but she declined to give specifics.
There are issues, even in the discussions we've had in our 3 days here, where we can see areas of possible agreement and areas that are going to be very, very difficult.
But she says there is a strong commitment to resolve those disagreements.
I would say that everyone in the room was determined to try in every way we can to reach the result.
Iran and the six world powers agreed to hold the next round of nuclear talks on March 17th in Vienna. Pam Dawkins, VOA News, Washington.
The next step is to introduce the grammar. Since the topic is reported speech, an option is to begin by asking students what they remember Catherine Ashton saying. Some example responses might be, "We have had 3 very productive days," "There is a lot to do," "It won't be easy," "We have made a good start." Next, include an activity to elicit and highlight the grammar based on the previous sentences students heard in the video. With the first sentence, "We have had 3 very productive days," the teacher should provide an example of that sentence converted into reported speech. She said that they had had 3 very productive days. Students can then be asked what changes they notice between the two sentences. That is, the pronoun we changes to they, and the present perfect have had changes to the past perfect had had. Then, students are given the second sentence to see if they can apply the rule to this next example. In this case, the student should be able to produce the pronoun they and the past perfect verb had made. To take it further, in the third and fourth examples, the students are again encouraged to apply that rule. That is, to change the tense of the verb when using reported speech. They should be able to guess that is becomes was, and that will be becomes would be. Now comes the fun part, the more open-ended activities. You are probably familiar with the cliche, "A picture is worth 1,000 words." Well, pictures are a great tool for language training. Pictures help students at all levels come up with many different language features. In this case, there is a picture with many international dignitaries. The students can imagine what each person said to another. For example, a student might be asked, "What did President Obama say to the Russian foreign minister?" The student can respond with a whole host of ideas. A student might say, "President Obama said that his helicopter was approaching. Then President Obama asked if he wanted a ride." There are many photos for which you could do the same activity. In addition to the photo activities, here are a few other suggestions that you could use in the more productive stages of grammar practice. Ask students to compare what the US politicians say about Iran's nuclear program to what Iran says about their program. A student might start like this. "The US said that Iran had not been cooperating, but Iran said the US had not been cooperating." Another idea would be to have the student interview the teacher about a topic. After the interview, the student would report back what the teacher said. This is a good way to incorporate listening comprehension into the speaking grammar practice. Finally, a student could simply talk about the topic for 2 minutes. When finished, the teacher could report on what they heard, identify any mistakes, and have the student correct the teacher's reporting on his or her ideas. Remember, grammar is not evil. Please use the provided textbook, but please also try to incorporate different skills, reading, listening, and speaking, as ways to create more opportunities to produce the grammar structures rather than just memorize them. That concludes the teacher training module on teaching grammar in a communicative way. Please contact your language training supervisor if you have any questions.